When it comes to trying to achieve full occupancy in a year, we have to take into consideration the number one ways to minimize our vacancy rates. Before we jump into this, please make sure to hit that bell icon and subscribe now. Also, make sure to like the video, and if you have any questions or comments, comment down below or reach out to me directly at 201-952-4665 or broker@localpnc.com. All right, let's jump into it. So, as a real estate broker and property manager who owns my own firm, and currently I have about 20 units and counting under my management actively, and I've done over 300 plus transactions in the last 2 years, I can firsthand say that the ways that I have been able to minimize vacancy rates is by planning ahead as number one. Florida has a requirement that leases cannot have any less than 30 days or 60 days and no more than when it comes to your annual standard leases. I like to have it in my leases that the tenant has to provide me with a notice at least 60 days in advance, and then what we're actually supposed to do as property managers is provide a 15-day advance notice to those 60 days to the tenant, reminding them that they have to let us know if they're going to be renewing or leaving their lease. And if they end up deciding that they do not want to stay any longer, then this is when we'll tell them, okay, hey, we're going to end up trying to rent out the property. You do have to work with us to get it rented. And we're usually on really good terms with our tenants. We're not like that really annoying management company that everybody hates. We actually are very proud of our relationships with our tenants. And we place tenants who we have good, strong verbiage and communication and relationships with. So, at least we try to. Can't always, but can't win them all. But for the most part. So we really just try to keep clear communication and start marketing the unit as soon as possible. At that 60-day, 30-day mark, whichever it is that you guys prefer, you can do. But for us, it's 60 days. Now, in addition to that, if it ever comes into a situation where we can't get into the unit because we have a tenant that's not working with us, because like I said before, you can't win them all. You can't get a perfect tenant every single time. Okay. And I have had so many tenants that will work with me, and then I have had the little bit of tenants that make my life a living hell, or they try to. But I've been in this already long enough to know how to work through these ones. So when I'm in that situation, I just let the tenant move out. Okay, I will put the unit on the market as either coming soon or available, when the tenant has moved out and we have cleaned the property. Show the property as soon as I can. Additionally, I try to be competitive with my market rents, just because if I go into the market saying I'm going to get the highest rent, that's great and all, and I can do that if I have a lot of time to play with, like in the 60 days before the tenant moves out. But in the shorter time frames where the tenant will not move out and I have to wait till that tenant is gone in order to be able to do what I need to do to occupy my unit, then I need to be competitive. I need to be on top of it, and I need to be offering what other people are not offering, and I need to make sure that mine's the best. Okay, mine is the best unit on that market. No matter what you say, mine is the best. And if it's not, feedback. Listen to whatever the feedback is. That's like the most difficult thing for anybody to do. And like at the beginning of my career, I really struggled with that because I was not experienced. But like as you become more and more experienced and you start to manage more units and do more units in a year, you will learn that feedback is your best friend. And the more constructive it is, and the more honest it is, the better it is for you to have a chance of being able to lower your occupancy rate. We don't want that. That's bad. But the better it is for you to be able to lower your vacancy rate and get your occupancy rate where you want it. Now, a lot of my tenants that I end up leasing to, they actually will stay for multiple years. If you can get a tenant for longer than a 1-year term, I highly suggest it, just because at that point you are locking in a 0% vacancy for years to come if that tenant is a good paying tenant who pays on time, and you don't have issues with them. That is a thing. I have, and I know of tenants who have gotten into like 99-year leases before, and like other states, and it was like crazy. I was like, what the damn? But like, you also have to consider, at some point you're going to want to increase the rent, so maybe there's some type of clause in there that allows for that, or you just stick to the annual leases, renewing annually and increasing thereafter, or moderating the rent thereafter to ensure that you are staying within the market. Okay. Because again, you have to take into consideration, if you do have a good tenant, your good tenant's going to expect you to also give to them. Okay. And how we give to people as a management firm or as a landlord is by providing them with a habitable, safe dwelling unit, and also providing them with market rents, and or if not considered market rents, something special that's like, this is great. Okay. Because I'm sorry, but just having a house, typical standard copy and paste house is not that special. I know I'm going to break a lot of hearts today. But yeah. So another way that I keep my occupancy high is having really good relationships with my tenants. If my tenants are happy, my tenants want to stay. If my tenants are not happy, they're going to want to leave, and I'm going to want them to leave more than likely, because it's not a healthy environment. Okay, we really want to encourage healthy environments and healthy landlord, tenant, broker, management, tenant relationships, because again, happy environment means more longevity for me when it comes to leases and occupancy. Okay. Now, another thing, if you are a landlord who is self-managing, I do suggest hiring a broker, just because you doing it yourself is great. Okay, and I get that a lot of landlords do this, and when you're multifamily, you can have it internal, and maybe that's the way that you want to go. But I just really suggest, if you're looking for more freedom, which is like why a lot of people get into this, you export a lot of that, additional work, because you are creating a new relationship for that as well. And your broker is going to be a little bit more qualified if they are experienced, like myself, they're going to be more well versed as well in qualifying tenants. Now, again, it's always a 50-50 chance. It doesn't matter if you get an 800 score or a 500 score. It's always a 50-50 chance. Some applicants are a lot more riskier than others, but I have seen higher scores go through really hard times in evictions and foreclosures and bankruptcies. And to say that it can't happen to them is like saying that, we're not floating on a rock right now. So it can happen to anyone, just life switches up. So understand that your placements are always 50-50. And the better of a pre-qualification and pre-screening and move-in process that you can create, the better it is going to be for you in the long run. So those are really honestly like my top tips that I can give you for this. If you're basically doing all of that, I really do not see why you would have high vacancy rates. If you have high vacancy rates, you're doing something wrong, and you should really speak with a professional before it gets over your head and you end up in a hole. Okay, sometimes it's better to go with a lower rent to get a higher occupancy rate, because if you actually run the numbers for the full 12 months, then you'll be able to understand that having the lower rent and being, maybe vacant for 2 weeks is a lot better than having the higher rent but being vacant for 3-4 months. Okay, it's just like you just lost 3 to 4 months of rent compared to 2 weeks of rent. Okay, and then you take that across your 12-month term, and that is like, there's a big difference there when it comes to your numbers. So if you're working with even smaller unit properties or smaller unit portfolios, especially, you're at such a higher risk also, because then it's like, you know what I'm saying? You can't really like dabble that much with risk. If you have larger portfolios, it's still really big risk, but at least you have other units that are stabilizing your portfolio if you want to play around, okay, and learn, you know, what's best for that unit specifically. So that's my 2 cents, guys. If you're having trouble keeping your properties rented, or you're just struggling with getting high occupancy rates, please save my number. It's 201-952-4665. And also save my email address. It's broker, BROKER, at local, LOCALPMC.com. All right, so broker at localpmc.com is that email address one more time for you. And we are always more than happy to step in either as management or broker or both to help you guys with getting that higher occupancy rate and lower vacancy rate, because ultimately that's going to be one of the biggest factors here in your real estate investment when it comes to ensuring that your return on investment is at the highest point. All right, I'll see you guys on the next one. Any questions, leave them down below, and make sure to hit that subscribe now button. Thanks again, and if you haven't already, make sure to like this video and share it with your friends. All right, see you. Bye.